I purchased a very old, very heavy vintage sewing machine because I've always wanted to sew. I've always wanted to make things with my hands, but my family's not super crafty, so I never learned how to do that. So I ended up finding someone actually at the Minnesota State Fair to help me learn how to thread the machine. And from there, just kind of tinkered with it and made my first 2 products before moving to New Orleans. And then when I moved to New Orleans, it was 3 weeks before Mardi Gras. I was wearing one of my products out. Someone said, "You absolutely have to make this in Mardi Gras colors. You'll sell out." And she wasn't wrong.
We would like to thank our title sponsor, B1 Bank. B1 Bank knows that entrepreneurs like you are always thinking one step ahead. So you need banking solutions that can keep up. It begins with lending. Does your business need working capital or financing for new equipment? How about a real estate or a construction loan? Good news, the B1 lending team is ready to learn your goals and help you find the best lending option available. Now let's talk about uncomplicating your daily cash flow. B1 offers a full array of treasury management services that let you collect funds faster, pay funds more efficiently, and access your information with powerful online tools. Most importantly, B1 understands the value of working with local nonprofits to build a stronger community. They believe in giving back through hands-on involvement with their B1 Community Outreach Program because it's simply the right thing to do. B1 Bank. Be uncomplicated. To learn more, visit b1bank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. Hello, I'm Andrew McClendon, your host of the Next Entrepreneur Podcast. We're here today recording remote at Fringe Company. And our guest today is Chief Sequin Officer Kelsey Campion.
Yes.
Thank you for hosting us here. I have 3 daughters. The oldest and the youngest are 12 years apart. They're kind of spread out, but they were all princesses. Mm-hmm. And there was probably about 20 years, now that I do the math, of nothing but pink and purple in my life. So I'm very at home here with all the
flashbacks.
Sequins. Yes, yeah. So Kelsey, tell us, what is Fringe Co. and what are you guys doing today?
Sure. So Fringe Company is it's always hard to describe, lifestyle fashion brand that specializes in wearable fun. So, clothing, accessories, everything, but make it fun.
Obviously what you're wearing.
Obviously what I'm wearing.
What's behind us here, and a warehouse filled with product. And this is product that is going out for sale. Mm-hmm. But we're going to kind of dig into the whole process of how you built this business. We're in New Orleans, but you did not grow up here.
I did not. No.
Tell us where that all started.
I grew up far away in St. Paul, Minnesota. Left there when I was 18 and went on to travel for school and have settled here about 5.5, 6 years ago. My brother was down here. He had just gotten married, was going to have kids, and I wanted to be closer to family. So that's how I landed in this incredible city. Yeah.
Well, it seems like you've acclimated well to it.
I would say pretty quickly. Pretty quickly.
You weren't always on this path. You were doing the collegiate path. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So when I was 13, I remember distinctly telling my mom I either wanted to be a psychiatrist or a fashion designer. Always being really good in school. I was very academic. I pursued the more academic route for a long time. I pursued psychology and Spanish. I worked for a while as an alcohol and drug counselor, and then went on to get my master's and start my doctorate program in forensic psychology. So I always worked within sort of a probation, parole sort of arena, and was getting my doctorate at Texas Tech when I decided to take a sabbatical, and I never went back, and now I help people with sparkles.
Okay, so you took a sabbatical. You're working on your doctorate. You take a sabbatical, and that's when you moved to New Orleans?
No, I actually moved overseas to Milan.
Wow.
So I took a sabbatical, basically blew up my entire life. I knew exactly what my path was going to be. I could tell you where I would be in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, how much I would be making, kind of what the path was. And then when I decided to take a sabbatical, which in my heart I knew wasn't a sabbatical, I knew it was an exit. But
was it burnout?
It wasn't burnout. I loved what I did. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved what I did. I loved the clients that I work with. I get so many people that say, forensic psychology, that must be awful. You're working within the prison system. And I loved working with my clients. I hated working with the system. And it wasn't what I wanted to do 40 hours a week. I hated the bureaucracy, the administrative stuff. It was really difficult to help the clients that I wanted to help within the system. And it was really draining to me. So I decided I wanted to pursue something that was more fulfilling and creative to me on a weekly basis.
Yeah. So Milan, and then what did you do there?
So I started my official creative career in photography. So I was doing photography over there, lived in Milan for 2 years, absolutely loved it. But the economy in Italy is not super strong, especially for expats, much less people that actually live there. I have a lot of Italian friends that had to move to other countries to find work. Was there for 2 years. And then when I was moving back to the States, I was kind of like, I could move anywhere. Where do I want to move? And like I said, my brother and I are super close, but we hadn't lived in the same city in 12 years. So I thought, there's no harm in moving closer to him for a couple of years. If I hate it, I can always leave, because I'd moved every 2 years for the last 12 years with masters and jobs and, doctorate programs, and ended up falling in love within about 3 weeks of moving here with the city. And this is home. We recruited my mom down here now. So my entire nuclear family lives in New Orleans.
Okay. So you're in New Orleans. This is 5.5 years ago?
5.5. Yeah.
And so what led you to the start of this business?
Before I moved to New Orleans, I went back to Minnesota after going back to Milan for just a couple of months to get my stuff, pack everything up. And I purchased a very old, very heavy vintage sewing machine, because I've always wanted to sew. I've always wanted to make things with my hands, but my family's not super crafty, so I never learned how to do that. So I ended up finding someone actually at the Minnesota State Fair to help me learn how to thread the machine. And from there, just kind of tinkered with it and made my first 2 products before moving to New Orleans. And then when I moved to New Orleans, it was 3 weeks before Mardi Gras. I was wearing one of my products out. Someone said, you absolutely have to make this in Mardi Gras colors. You'll sell out. And she wasn't wrong. So from there, it was kind of like, all right, this is what I'm doing. So I moved. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a wild journey. I worked for the first year in New Orleans as a commercial photographer for an ad agency here, while also building this on the side. And I gave myself a year to quit. At 10 months, I was at the point where I could quit to pursue this full time, and have been growing it ever since.
Yeah, what a perfect product for New Orleans. Right.
It is. I mean, my stuff is very much, and my new products is very much inspired by New Orleans. I mean, New Orleans is really at the heart of my brand and what I do, and truly at the heart of my success. I would not be where I am without the people of New Orleans.
So you were able to replace your salary within 10 months?
No, I didn't pay myself for a very long time.
Yeah.
I'm just incredibly financially frugal. I still live in my same tiny little apartment. I started my business in my second bedroom in my apartment, which is about 300 square feet. So if you imagine, a lot of this stuff was fitting into 300 square feet. I didn't have nearly the product that I do now, but I started very, very, very small and very conservative, and then just slowly kind of grew from there. All of my profits I dumped back into product. I dumped back into, marketing, all of that, and then just slowly have kind of grown ever since then.
So how do you sell product initially? I mean, it has to be word of mouth.
So I did a lot of pop-ups here. So New Orleans, and this is pre-pandemic times, there were a ton of markets, a ton of pop-ups every single weekend. So I would travel to the pop-up, set up. And I think part of what the success of my business I was sewing everything to begin with. So I only had a super limited quantity. So things would sell out really quickly. Yeah. So it started kind of word of mouth. If you want to get something, you have to show up early to the pop-up. It's going to sell out. So that sort of sense of urgency, I think, is what drew people to me.
And define to, I guess, what a pop-up is. Is that at a boutique retailer? Is that a festival, or all the above? All
of the above. So New Orleans used to run a ton of, like Frenchman Market, but it would be more, maybe once a month somewhere else. So I know Dat Dog used to have one. There's still a lot going on, around New Orleans, but they're basically just kind of pop-up shopping and party events that they would solicit vendors for. So once you're kind of in the groove of that, you get the emails, people, hey, do you know about this next pop-up, that next pop-up? So I would kind of travel around and they were just sort of, day 4-hour pop-ups at different locations depending on the season.
And was the business model then essentially sell what you bring to the pop-up, or is it you're starting relationships to get product into the boutiques?
No. So I never really wholesaled. I did a little bit of wholesaling, but I've always been mainly direct to consumer. So it was basically selling directly to, my clients and establishing relationships that way. I did sell to a couple of boutiques, but I just didn't have the capacity at that time to make and sell what I was selling, both directly to consumer as well as to wholesalers.
So I'm imagining you in a pop-up, you'd have a customer say, hey, I like that. I need it in this size. And now you're starting relationships, emails, and now you're making product. Is that kind of what was going on?
I mean, that sounds a lot more strategic. I literally just showed up and hoped for the best. Like, yeah. I'm not going to pretend like I went into this, super strategic. It was, I was literally, sewing until midnight, waking up at 7 a.m., setting up a 6-foot table like this, selling everything, breaking it down, doing it again and again and again until I kind of got to the point where I could be a little bit more strategic about it. But in the beginning, it was just make, sell, market, let people know about me, get people excited about the brand. And then from there, obviously, with that came, I had to take on someone to help me sew. And, from there, kind of the slow growth of a business.
The brand. How did you create the brand? Did you do that yourself? At some point, did you bring someone in to polish it up? It looks well done.
It is. I never inherently knew how important psychology was to me until recently when I read an article about, the psychology of branding. And I think I inherently knew that, no one is looking for a sequin caftan. Like, that's not a need of anyone, right? But creating this excitement around, I have to have it. It has to be a part of my life. There's, some psychology behind that. When I first started off, I was actually a different brand. The OGs will understand it was Merrill Creative. I still have people be like, I have your old tag. I'm an OG fan. And that was more related to my photography. And I knew once I went out on my own that I did have to do a rebrand. So for the longest time, I really didn't have any branding materials. I didn't have tags. I didn't have anything. It was literally just, like I said, sell the product and hope word of mouth gets back to me. So my aunt is an incredible marketer. She's worked in, digital marketing for Doc Martens and Nike and, international marketing. So I actually flew out to Portland where she lived and we did like a 3-day workshop of rebranding. And we came up with sort of my, deck, my mission, which still is very relevant today.
Wow.
But I definitely had foresight into where I wanted to go. This was about 4.5 years ago. A lot of it has come true or even kind of gone beyond that, but she really helped me hone in on sort of what my brand is about. And then I did have a designer help with, the logo, and I had someone build my website and all of those sorts of things. But I think, if you look at my branding, everything from the strings that we use on to hang the tags have glitter in them. Like I want every single touch point to feel like Fringe and Company. I'm a stickler for that, which sometimes is incredibly annoying to not only other people, but to myself, but we get really positive feedback on the branding.
Yeah. Don't you have to be a stickler to make something like this come to life and get buy-in?
I think you have to be, but I think that it takes time. I think, when I talk to a lot of other like young entrepreneurs are so worried about getting the right logo and the right website without even having, a product fit or understanding. I had a 1.5 years under my belt of knowing these products are selling before I really branded. I was selling on Etsy. I had no clue what I was doing, and it wasn't until I was 1.5 years in and saying, okay, these things are flying. Like we have something here. I think that a lot of people before they even market test think that the branding is important, but then realize they can't sell the product. I think that branding is incredibly important, but I think knowing your brand and having a very innate sense of what your brand is doesn't come but with sort of experience and figuring it out.
Yeah, I think that's a very normal process for successful entrepreneurs. I think there's some wannabe entrepreneurs who want everything to be right. They want everything to be perfect and aligned, all systems in place, all branding, marketing, figured out. And like you just said, then try to get their product to market but the people that do it the way you do it, like you're doing your product because you have to do it. Right?
Yeah.
You want to do it. You have to do it. And then you figure out all those other things along the way. They merge together and then you can rock and roll.
Well, and I think had I started my business with a very strong vision of branding, it wouldn't be what it is today. Part of my branding came from learning and, getting feedback from pop-ups and seeing what people are excited about. And, quite frankly, at the beginning, I didn't have the time or the disposable income to, be able to throw money at that.
Sure.
So it was, you do what you can do. And then once it kind of got to the point where, okay, this is a thing and it's truly growing, let's really sort of flesh out what this looks like and what I want it to be.
So the conversation that you had, you'd made a couple of pieces and you're down in New Orleans, it's Mardi Gras, someone sees your stuff and you said, they told you, hey, if you make those Mardi Gras colors fly off the shelves. Did it become clear, like either at that moment or fairly shortly afterwards, that this was on, or did it still take a while? I mean, how did that vision of this becoming a lifestyle brand take to develop?
I think, right away I knew my products are selling and people are excited about it. It was something new, Mardi Gras has been done. There's, people get stuff shipped over from China. It's, people were tired of the fascinators, of the this. So having a new product, especially for Mardi Gras, people go wild down here. I think when I realized how important the brand and the experience is a year after I moved here, I did a open call for a photo shoot. So I was like, anyone who wants to come and model sparkles, meet at my house. We're going to, drink champagne, and I have a pink shopping cart that's still over there. I'm never getting rid of that thing, that we're going to, put you in and go down Carrollton and have just a fun day and get a lot of content. And the feedback that I got wasn't as much about the products, but about, I want to be a part of this brand. How do I be a part of it? I think that anyone can sell products, right? Like there's analytics, there's an algorithm for selling something or, something that someone needs. Like I said, I think that everyone needs everything in here, but I'm a little bit biased. But I think that is really where I understood all of the comments underneath the post was, I want to be a part of this. How do I get into the next photo shoot? I can't wait. Like, this is so exciting. You're so fun. I want to get to know you. So I think that's when it really clicked, like, wow, we're not selling a product. We're selling something that people want to be a part of. And from there, that's kind of where I realized that, marketing, the psychology of marketing was kind of innate for me in understanding how to create a brand that people not only want to purchase from, but really want to buy into and be a part of, and be a part of this group that, sort of does these things.
Yeah. So you got to a point where you can't keep up with production, obviously, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you then have to farm that out. You found a manufacturer. Was that local?
Well, first I actually found like 2 women to help me. I literally put out I don't even remember where I put out a job posting, but I found someone on the West Bank that didn't even have a car. So I would drive stuff to her to get made. I knew when I was at the point that I could no longer make my items, I think what people loved about my items is that I made them or they were made locally. So I knew no matter what, I wanted to reinvest in the local economy. And I would say one of the top values of my brand still to this day is local manufacturing. So I first took on 2 women that would just help me sew. And then from there, once we started developing a couple of other products that required a little more intense manufacturing is when I started looking around and seeing, do I need to go to Houston or Dallas or Atlanta, not knowing that there was something here. A pattern maker that I was working with said, hey, I think that there's this person on the West Bank. Let's check them out. I had a meeting with her and she became our manufacturer. And that was about 4 years ago, I think.
She obviously was manufacturing for others,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she added your brand to the mix.
Yep.
And so you have to go through that process of pricing. You're still buying, how does that work? You still buy the material?
Yep. So I procured all of the raw materials. I get most of my stuff from LA. I call them my Sequin dealers. I literally have them in my phone as Sequin dealers. But I have a couple that I work with that would just ship the raw materials directly to her. She housed all of my patterns. If there were new patterns, she would help me work on them. And then, would basically just call and put in orders, say I need 5 of this size and this color. She was willing to work with me on minimums, which a lot of manufacturers aren't. So, being able to start off really small and not make that huge financial investment was important to me. And I learned a lot from her, and attribute a lot of my business success to her willingness to work with this tiny little person that was like, help me make sequins.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was there any challenges in pricing through that process?
Not really. I knew like I said, for me, my value was always local manufacturing. So I knew that my prices were going to be higher. I've never wanted to compete ever on pricing. I want to compete on quality. I want to compete on experience. I want to compete on customer service and all of that. I don't, I'm not trying to be a luxury brand. I'm trying to reflect ethical manufacturing and ethical wages for manufacturers because, it's a whole different conversation, but the fashion industry is notorious for being really not great. So luckily, when I actually did first move here, I had a store approach me about my first product. So I did actually wholesale right away, just one product, this, easy little product that I could make, my party wraps. So I started off knowing that I had to set my margins for wholesale.
I see.
So I've always have. I'm never cutting out the idea of wholesale. I've just found success with direct to consumer. So right. I feel very grateful that happened when my first stage of pricing happened, understanding how margins. Otherwise, I think I would have just been like, it seems like it should be about this price. Right. I don't know. So that sort of helped me determine what pricing is. And then I also work with the manufacturer on the more products that I made or the more quantity, she would give me a little bit of a price break, but ultimately her and I were on the same page about, for me, ethical wages was the most important thing in terms of other people making my garments. Pricing was never really an issue because I was willing to invest in that as a value of our business.
Very cool. Very cool. And so what did that trajectory look like once you got to that point? Okay, now you've got, the manufacturer making your product. You can focus on marketing and retail and all that. What did the trajectory look like over time, over the next few years?
I didn't stop making my stuff, actually. I probably should have sooner. I would say until about a year ago, I was still making a lot of my stuff. Just because I love that part of it. I mean, that's how I started my business. I love making things with my hands. On days that I'm stressed, I love looking and seeing a pile of sequins that I have physically made next to me. And then about a year and a half ago, I had a TikTok video go viral and my business changed pretty much overnight. I had no longer had time to make anything. In fact, this is the first time that I've ever not had sewing machines in here, which is a little upsetting, but we have industrial machines down at our manufacturer now. But it was just kind of slow growth. I mean, I literally kept showing up to pop-ups, kept showing up to events. I was still working out of my house until June of 2020 when we took on this space. We took it on during the pandemic, which is interesting, but we just vastly were outgrowing the 300 square foot. Right. My partner and I had to walk through my studio to go to bed. It's just not feasible for the growth of the business. But I had really healthy year-over-year growth. I just hit the ground running. I did some out-of-state shows. Some were successful, some were not. Really just got my product out there as much as I could and focused on marketing and photo shoots and, connecting with people. I had an idea in my gut where I wanted to go, but it certainly wasn't strategic on paper, I'll say that.
Hannis T. Bourgeois provides accounting services, litigation support, as well as tax and assurance services to companies and individuals throughout the region. With offices in Baton Rouge, Denham Springs, New Orleans, and Hammond, their team of professionals have a wide range of specialized expertise and give personalized attention to each client they work with. HTB serves all types of business structures, including corporations, private businesses, startups, individuals, and more. So call them today to learn how they can help you. Reach out to them by phone or learn more at their website, www.htbcpa.com. A little testimonial here. HTB has been my accounting firm for over 30 years and have guided my initial company from startup to expanding to numerous operating companies. HTB has provided guidance in helping us expand across the U.S., doing business in more than 30 states. Flat out, HTB has made all the difference in the world to our business. This podcast is sponsored by NAI Ladder & Blum, Louisiana's leading commercial real estate firm, offering expertise in every discipline, including office, industrial, retail, multifamily, and corporate services. Their agents guide you through the real estate process from start to finish, using a host of marketing, prospecting, and analytical technologies. As leading entrepreneurs, your valuable time and resources should align with the most trusted name in commercial real estate, NAI Ladder & Blum. Learn how they can work for you at www.ladderblum.com. TurnKey Solutions is a nationwide cybersecurity and IT systems expert, providing the services that growing businesses need to stay ahead of hackers, hurricanes, and IT nightmares. With 24/7 support teams and offices across Louisiana and Texas, they bring peace of mind to companies of all sizes. Their 5-star rated team provides lightning-fast IT support with the cybersecurity and business continuity solutions today's businesses demand. When you're looking for a technology partner to provide you with peace of mind, find out more by calling them at 225-224-6594 or chat with them online at www.tks.la/NXT. So tell us about this viral TikTok.
January of 2021, they announced that Mardi Gras was canceled. Mardi Gras is my biggest time locally, obviously. So pretty devastating for my business, but I decided the only thing that I could control was the quality and quantity of content that I put out. Obviously, during the pandemic, like many other people, I got on TikTok. I didn't quite understand it. I definitely felt too old for the platform, but was like, my stuff lives visually so well on social media, lives so well in video that I might as well give it a try. So I posted pretty much 2 to 3 videos a day for a couple of months. And June 30th of 2021, I had my video go viral and it changed my business pretty much overnight.
So define viral. That's different for every TikToker, right?
Yeah. I think I hit like 3 million views or something.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
Yeah. Within a day, it was at like 2 million. It was wild. My phone was, I'm surprised it didn't internally combust. Within 20 minutes, I knew something was happening. Like I could tell that like this video was different.
And what was the video?
It was like a literal, it took me 10 minutes to make. I had no makeup on, hadn't washed my hair, my dog's in it. I was basically showcasing my new product, which is a sequin caftan. Luckily, I don't know what universe had foresight into, that this was going to happen, but I had just released my first sequin caftan collection the week before. And with my Instagram following, I sold out of that within about 20 minutes. It was a very small collection, and people were like, oh my God, I want this, I want this. So I put up a waiting list, an email list. That first day after it sold out, I had probably 300-400 people on my email waiting list, which is great, right? I was like, wow, 300 people want my stuff. A week later, my video went viral. I had no caftans to sell. It was showcasing my sequin caftans, but luckily I had that email list up, and my email list went from 300 to 13,000 in a week.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was, wild. I immediately booked a flight to LA to get fabric. I went from getting, $5,000 worth of fabric in LA to 30,000, which was really wild. I remember paying that first credit card bill and was like, I can just pay for this with a click of a button. Like, I don't understand how this is legal. That was my first time experiencing that. And from there, we had a couple of other subsequent drops that, one of them sold out in 3 minutes. We had another one sell out in 7 minutes. I had angry people because they were like online waiting for it. And it literally was as people were checking out, it was flying out of their cart. So that was pretty intense for, I would say, about 6 months. I went to LA about every, I would say, 5 weeks probably to get more fabric, ship it back to Tam. She would make it, we'd shoot it, we'd put it up, it would sell out, do it over and over and over again.
So production was able to keep up?
They were, thank goodness. Yes. They were able to keep up. I think they worked pretty much night and day for me. We had pallets of fabric being shipped into her. So it changed, everything, obviously. It changed, my web visitors, it changed my email, it changed the scale of my business pretty much overnight. I had seen some initial success at the beginning of the pandemic when I switched to masks and saw, a little push then. And then even during the pandemic.
Like sequin masks?
Yeah, I made sequin masks and, so I saw a little pop in sales there. And then during the pandemic, I'm very fortunate people continued to support me and wanted to buy fun stuff for, Zoom meetings and, would show up at their, like I said, Zoom meetings and party wraps or fun accessories, but this was at a completely different scale of operations.
So 2021, you have the devastating news that Mardi Gras is not happening, but just within a few short months you have this burst of business, which was unprecedented, right? And so sometime after that, you had another big hit with the Today Show appearance, right?
I did. They found me because of TikTok, actually. I had the producers of the Today Show reach out and say, would you be interested? We're coming in after, Mardi Gras, and we would love you to dress, Jenna and Hoda in these fun sequin things in Jackson Square. So they asked me to do that. And of course I said, Sure, why not? So yeah, that was a really fun experience as well.
And then how did that turn? What impact did that have?
To be completely honest, none, because they didn't put my business name or my name on
Yeah.
it, which looking back, I sort of look at all of these things as learning experiences.
Right.
They had asked my name, they had asked my Instagram handle, my website. I assume they did this every single day, so they know to put small businesses information on there, and unfortunately they didn't link
Yeah.
anything to me. So that was pretty frustrating and disappointing, but the fact that I got on the Today Show and that I'm on their radar means that I'm doing something right. So I sort of looked at it as a win.
We've had experience with that in our foundation with two different national news organizations years apart, but the one that tagged us and did all the social media, and it was really extreme, and another that didn't,
Hmm.
that showed a beautiful segment on national news, which was wonderful, and that had an impact in itself. But I was able to see that difference between when they tag and do the social media and not, and it's dramatic.
It is, because no one knew how to find me, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
have all these eyes on me, but no one knows how
Yeah,
to
yeah.
how to find me. They didn't even say my business. So, I think what I have learned through TikTok, through everything that I've done, is no one will market my business as well as I will. I don't, I still do all of my own marketing. I have people that come in and support me, but that's also why I don't do a lot of influencer work, because I just find, I mean, I am emotionally connected to my product. I
Right.
literally fly to LA. I pick out every single fabric, every single design has been from me. I've made one design in my life that came from a suggestion of someone else, and I no longer carry it because I don't sell it because I don't love it. So I've found that, no, I mean, I am the one that can market my business. Not saying that other people can't come on to support me, but I think that I've kind of learned that that's the way that gets things out there, because I'm emotionally attached to it.
Yeah.
I'm emotionally, financially, time-wise invested in all of this, and it's important for me to get the word out and to share why I'm excited about these pieces. I don't make things that I don't love. I only make things that I want to see hanging in my closet, and luckily I've found a group of other people that are really excited to have it in their closet
Yeah.
as well.
I love seeing your enthusiasm for what you do,
Mhm.
which is what drives the success, right?
It is. It is.
I want to talk about your product. So, I know little about women's specialty clothing or
Mhm.
whatever that market niche would be called, but I know there's some names out there that I'm unfamiliar with, the caftan and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So, what are all the different type products that you make?
So we make, I mean, a lot of different things. We do everything from accessories, so earrings, to party wraps, head wraps. So those are the ones that have the wire in them. We do caftans. The first products that I started off with were my party wraps and my sequin sleeve t-shirts. So those are the two products that I started off with probably for the first year. And then from there expanded into my sequin crop tops, sequin pants, sequin jumpsuits, and then went into caftans, short and long, the tunic tops, and dusters, which are kind of fit like a little bit of a robe. So,
Yeah.
and tinsel jackets as well. Tinsel jackets was kind of a big production as well. So yeah, we make, a lot of things that people already know how to wear. They're silhouettes that people already know how to wear. We just make them a little bit more fun.
I think the ladies helping us with the production here, Propel, had a vision of me wearing a sequin jacket for this
Mhm.
episode. So,
Might need to make that happen.
yeah, we might have to make that happen in the next segment. But on the way down here, Allison told a story of going to a Mardi Gras parade with a friend who was wearing your product.
Hmm.
She was saying that they really could barely get to the parade route
Hmm.
because they were stopped so frequently with both men and women asking her friend, "Where did you get this product, your product?"
Yep.
Which it sounded like it was a very, constant thing. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason we call it wearable fun. And I would say probably one of the favorite things about what I do is that no one is unhappy putting one of my pieces on. Like, people put it on, they immediately start dancing or shaking or saying, I've never felt more like myself. Or, you're usually wearing it to a fun event. I mean, it elicits good, memories and good energy. I mean, we were just at Austin City Limits. We've started working at some bigger festivals, and I was wearing one of my long sequin caftans out in the general sort of admission area because we had our booth in VIP. And I mean, I couldn't get more than 2 feet without people stopping. And this is the best thing I've ever seen. You have the best outfit. I mean, we get stopped by every festival photographer, and it's just, I mean, it's hard to not be excited when you see someone wearing an oversized, crazy sequin shiny object.
That's right. How does that make you feel when you see your customers out there wearing your product?
I love it. I mean, it's so much fun. It is so much fun seeing people, and especially since now being on TikTok and people recognize me from TikTok, which is incredibly strange, but it's so much fun seeing people and seeing people tag me, or sometimes we'll get emails from people saying, I ran into another girl in Ohio wearing the same pants at the same concert and we had a moment over it. Or we'll be walking out and if someone sees someone in Fringe and Company and I overhear, oh, you're wearing Fringe. And I mean, it's really fun. And it does, I mean, again, going back to branding, like if you're wearing a piece of Fringe and someone else is, it's like you have an immediate point of sort of contact, right?
Yeah.
And it's really fun to see people bond over, a mutual love of crazy outfits.
Yeah, I'm getting bombarded with so many things I want to ask you right now. But you mentioned Fringe Mobile.
Yeah.
Where you have gone out. Tell us what that is.
Well, so we bought a party bus this year that we're building out. It's currently sitting in my driveway, which my neighbors are incredibly thrilled about. We haven't had time to work on it, but our vision is to really create sort of this experience. But in the last year, since kind of growing so significantly, we have gotten the opportunity to travel a lot to other shows. So we've been in Nashville twice. We're actually heading to Nashville for a third time in December. We go to DragCon, which is a big RuPaul's Drag Race convention out in Los Angeles. We have done Austin City Limits, Lollapalooza. Next year, we're seated to do Bonnaroo. So we're kind of now traveling, I would say 7 months out of the year to some big shows to bring them to other markets.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you look at your business model right now, how do people buy product from you? What percent of it that is online and what percent is retail?
When I first started, I would say probably about 80% was in person, right? Because it was, I didn't have a fleshed out website online presence. And I attribute a lot of my success to the local people of New Orleans who continued to follow me around to pop-ups and markets and buy my stuff and have, 10 party wraps and 5 shirts. But once the pandemic hit, we obviously started going more online. And then just as you grow in business and marketing, you get more exposure online. So I would say now we are at like a 75% online, which we still have a pretty significant of, I guess, POS purchasers and in-person purchasers compared to a lot of other pretty much strictly online business. I mean, we don't have a retail location. We literally only open up for pop-ups maybe once a month, and to still have 30% of our revenue coming from those pop-ups. I mean, we pack the house in here when we open up.
Yeah. And so this isn't really retail.
No.
But unless you have a special event.
Yep.
So you could almost effectively have a pop-up in your own place here.
That's exactly what we do. That's exactly what we do. We just had one for Halloween. We'll have one for Shop Small Saturday. We'll be open a little bit more during Mardi Gras and busier seasons, but as of right now, I have learned in business to not say never, but I have no interest in a brick and mortar location just because, we'll take off for 2 weeks to go to Austin City Limits and, not worrying about the overhead of having a retail location. I'm also, despite what all evidence might point to, an incredible introvert. I'm usually here alone with my one employee and my dog. Like, I love being in here, being quiet, working on things myself. So the thought of being public facing all the time, I think would be challenging for me.
Yeah. How do you do your shipping and stuff?
So I have my full-time employee who is incredible, Zoom. She handles all shipping, logistics, and customer service. We actually broke through our warehouse to create that space this year. I think we took it on in July of this year. So we do all shipping and logistics in-house here with my full-time employee.
Business growth. How were you able to finance that? When you talk about going to LA and now instead of buying 5,000, you're buying 30,000, you mentioned your credit card, but beyond that with the expenses of manufacturing and everything, how did you fund your growth?
Very, very smallly. I mean, I started with incredibly small runs. I have not, until purchasing our manufacturer, taken on any debt. I'm incredibly debt averse. So everything that I made, I dumped back into the business.
So you didn't take capital from friends and family?
No.
You did it all organically?
All organically, yes. I mean, I've been obviously incredibly privileged. I come from a family that had access to education, that had access to all of the things to help support me in my dreams, that helped me, pursue higher education. So I don't really believe that anyone starts a business with nothing.
Right,
I don't
sure.
think that I could have done it without the support. I mean, my mom still shows up here to help me. Like, people have shown up for me. So I don't want to make it seem like it was, done all alone. But because I'm so debt adverse, I am not willing to, take on debt from other people. So literally I wouldn't be able to, I mean, my idea for a sequin caftan I had for about a year and a half. And until I was able to fund the production of that, I didn't do it because I didn't want to take that risk.
Right.
I'm very risk averse when it comes to finances. So I think, like I said, I still live in my tiny little apartment. I don't really, I live pretty frugally outside of work to be able to continue to grow this business and dump into it what it needs. But yeah, I just sort of started small and, took one step at a time as, funds became available.
Yeah, that has served you well, that philosophy. So congrats on that. So you mentioned taking on debt to buying the manufacturer. So this is the manufacturer that was making your product for you.
Yes.
Tell us the story about how you got there to make that acquisition.
Yeah. So Tam, who was my manufacturer and still is a friend, who manufactured my stuff for 3.5, 4 years. Last year, end of 2021, after the chaos of going viral, I was down there having a conversation with her, talking about, her future, and her kids didn't want to take on, the business. They all had families and were living elsewhere. And I just said, hey, Tam, if you're ever interested in selling your manufacturer, just please keep me in mind for that conversation if you'd ever be interested in selling it to me. And I think it kind of piqued an interest in her. And she came to me Mardi Gras this year, 2022, saying, we want to be out by the end of this year. Her one daughter was going to have their third grandbaby, and she wanted to spend more time in Houston, and her husband, was kind of ready to retire. So I immediately called my partner and said, it looks like we're buying a manufacturer this year. So as of June of this year, we officially acquired our manufacturer and now own a manufacturer.
Okay, so you're debt adverse, risk adverse, but this is a situation that requires debt. How'd you get to that point to get a comfort level with that?
I'm still not comfortable with it, I'll be honest. I don't love it. The way that we did it, I don't know how nitty gritty you want, but it's actually seller finance. So I work with Tam and saying, as opposed to paying interest rates to banks, should I just pay interest rates to you? So I put a pretty hefty down payment down, and then we'll just be paying it off for the next couple of years. But I also knew a couple of things. One, we couldn't lose our manufacturer here. There's really no other manufacturing here. And not only is local manufacturing important to me, but it's also, I can literally, I called down there yesterday, teasing we're doing something fun with Commanders for their 130th, and I needed a jacket done within 2 days. I had it done within a day and a half. So also just, for the way that I operate, we do custom orders. I needed it to be local so that I can go and pick it up and do what I need to do and continue on with this business model. We saw it as a way to vertically integrate, but also as a way in the future to continue to have additional revenue sources. Do we manufacture other people's things, other products? So kind of looking at it as a way of a business investment for the future and for continued growth of sort of this fringe, business.
But what's I find really interesting is your business is you're able to do it with minimal employees. And so it's you and your one employee here, but then you buy this manufacturing facility that has 10 employees, right? So, and you're not only now producing all your product, but other product for others. So how did that work as far as did some management stay in place in a transition? Did you have to take over?
So we're very fortunate in that all of the employees wanted to stay on with us. My partner quit her job and is now running that full time. And part of the reason why we wanted to buy it in June as opposed to waiting to the end of the year is part of the contract is Tam stayed on and trained us. So, and Tam still comes by probably once a week to check in and see if we need anything. So, our biggest thing when we purchased it was, we want to stay in good standing. She wants to see us succeed because she wants to see all of her employees succeed. So yeah, we luckily were able to, it's a a blessing and a challenge to take on a business that's already running. I mean, I built this business from the ground up. This is one that doesn't really require a lot of me. In fact, they prefer me not to go down there because it's much more operational. And here it's a lot more chaotic. They call me the tornado, and they're like, the tornado's coming. You know, it really is a business that's already sort of running, for lack of a better word, itself, and just needs kind of some fine tuning and us to learn the business in order to really grow it to where we want it to be.
Yeah, that's fantastic. What a great story. Love that growth. We would like to thank MBD Automation for their support of the Next Entrepreneur podcast. MBD Automation is a mechanical install contractor with a program-centric focus. So what do these guys do? They install conveyor systems, VRCs, platforms, singulators, sorters, and all sorts of other types of automated equipment. Who do they work for? They work for systems integrators, manufacturers, and end users in fulfillment centers, airports, mail processing facilities, and projects in the defense industry. MBD Automation works for numerous Fortune 500 companies across the United States and has a list of international clients that they perform work for in the U.S. as well. If MBD Automation can help you on your next project, you can find them online at mbdautomation.com. This podcast is sponsored by Mayhall, Fondren Blaze, a Louisiana business litigation firm offering sophisticated legal advice that is tailored to meet the needs of their individual clients, including a wide variety of litigation, complex business negotiations, corporate formations, closings, and title examination. As leading entrepreneurs, your valuable time and resources should align with the expertise of MFB, a Louisiana practice made for business. Learn how we can work with you at www.mfbfirm.com. Could you or your business benefit from a comprehensive financial plan? Our sponsor, Centura Advisors, is a locally owned firm in Baton Rouge, Louisiana that specializes in personal and business financial planning, tax planning, corporate retirement plans, and investment management. We provide an all-in-one wealth management service so busy business owners like you can take back your valuable time. Visit www.centura-advisors.com to learn more. Centura Advisors, it's time to plan your future. And I'm wearing a beautiful
Sequin duster.
Or
sequin smoking jacket.
I'm going to go with smoking
jacket. All right.
Yeah. It's cool. I love it. I want to talk to you about the seasonality of your business. We've mentioned Mardi Gras and the impact of that, but is it seasonal, and what are the things that drive your business, or what are the events or the festivals or whatever that drive your business?
In all honesty, I think that we're still figuring that out. I mean, we know what big ones are, right? So Mardi Gras, Pride, festivals, but also figuring out how to tap into markets. I mean, the wedding industry is a big one. We get a lot for not only wedding guests, but we do a whole wedding collection for people getting married that might want alternative options or a rehearsal dinner outfit. We're going to be moving into some bachelorette stuff. So kind of capitalizing on other industries that happen year round. I think that the pandemic really brought to light how much people wanted fun things. So because our video went viral, it kind of upended our normal retail calendar. Normally for us, summer is pretty slow, which retail is historically very slow in summer, and we were slammed. So after the dust sort of settling with the crazy last year, we're really kind of looking forward to 2023 being a benchmark of like, what are our big ones seasonally, both locally as well as nationally or even internationally. As I mentioned, we've been traveling a lot more for festivals and for bigger events to really bring our products to other markets physically. But I mean, we basically want to be the one-stop shop for anyone looking for something fun, whether it be, you know, a brunch or a big event or a festival or just a Tuesday and you want to feel fabulous.
Yeah, wonderful. It's fascinating to hear you talk about like the wedding industry. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple of guests on the show that's a main part of their business, either through silk flowers that they rent or the wedding cake business. But weddings are big business. But I'm thinking about your energy and your design time to create a product or a collection or whatever it is. And as you just rattled off some of the potentialities of your product, it just seems like it just expanded in my mind of like so many things. Mm-hmm. But to think that you're considering that and doing that, executing on or beginning to execute on those things with such a small team is seems a little daunting to me. Do you see where the next add to your staff would be, or you're going to try to keep it as tight and efficient right now as possible?
I really want to keep it tight and efficient. I have, as of right now, no desire to grow into a 30-person company. I do not like managing people. I consider myself a better leader than manager. And I still have my hands in so many things. I think that I would like to bring on a creative team that can execute on my creative ideas. So whether that be graphic designer, a designer in some sort to help with, marketing and communications, because that's one skill set that I know how I want it to look, but I don't know how to make it happen. I'm also working with a couple of independent, I'm working with a growth consulting firm. I'm working with a digital marketing strategist to sort of help hone in on how to really make sure my back end and processes are running really tight and clear. And then, from there, we'll see where the needs are. I definitely believe in hiring for your strengths or for your weaknesses. I also value a small and very invested team that doesn't require a lot of my management time. We'll sort of see as it grows and expands what needs there are to be filled. But for right now, it'll probably be slow and small like it has been for the last 5 years.
Yeah. So I'm kind of thinking back on now your manufacturing and now that you're, have been doing that a while, that's a profit center. I mean, that's a separate LLC, mm-hmm. right? So are you satisfied with what you had been farming that out and now that's your business, right? And are you happy where you've seen the numbers on that? And
yeah, I mean, we're still a baby. We're very we're 5 months old in terms of actually owning it, and we have a lot to learn. I think that there is a ton of growth potential there, but we also have a steep learning curve going from, going to someone to manufacture to actually being the manufacturer, especially of other items that we may not have made before, is a little bit of a learning curve for us in terms of how do we figure out pricing? How do we figure out, what our schedule is going to look like? How do we acquire new clients? Because acquiring new clients for a service versus a product base is very different. It's a lot longer of a courting process of figuring out if we're the right fit for them and the pricing is right. So it's just a different business model that I'm not quite used to yet. So I definitely think that there's a ton of growth there, but I'm really happy with the success that we've seen in a short 5 months. We've definitely seen, because of supply chain issues, because of shipping, a lot more people are interested and willing to pay the price of getting it paid locally because they're just seeing either things not delivering on time or issues. I mean, there really is sort of a dying profession of having local manufacturers because you have to work on such scale to be profitable. But because, again, similar to here, we're not worrying about competing on price there. We're not going to be coming at the cheapest by any means, but we're going to come in on quality. You're going to know that our people are paid ethically. Our manufacturers is as sustainable as it can be. We recycle all fabrics. So people really, and businesses that share those similar values are going to look to us and understand the importance of that messaging and their own branding to be able to sell their products at a price that makes them profitable as well.
Yeah. I love all of this. Mm-hmm. You got some really great thoughts about business strategies. I asked you when we started about some of your challenges starting the business 5.5 years ago. Today, what would you say those challenges are and how have those changed?
I mean, the challenges that I used to worry about are things that are not even a thought anymore, which I think is, a good thing in business. So I know whatever I'm dealing with now in 5 years, I probably won't even think about, but that doesn't make dealing with the challenges right now any easier. I think the biggest challenge is we grew at such a quick and rapid rate that's kind of unheard of in a lot of businesses, figuring out what the new normal is. Also, in acquiring a new business, me personally, I've been living in nothing but spreadsheets and contracts and permits and lawyers and, occupational licenses and employments and payroll that I personally have kind of lost touch with the creative side of things. So I'm really working on getting my team to help me offload some of those things so that I can focus on what, I do best and really how I can best contribute to the business. Because let me tell you, it is not in spreadsheets. Like, that is not a strength of mine. So it's definitely been a challenge being a small team, being financially conservative, and that I wasn't willing to take on a ton of staff just because we were growing. I mean, I haven't seen friends or family in a year. I mean, I'd say that I've seen friends and family, but I've been here 12, 14, 16, 18-hour days, 7 days a week. And now we're at a point where that's not happening anymore. So figuring out now that we have these systems in place and things are running a lot more smoothly and don't require as much hands-on attention, sort of how am I best spending my time to drive the business forward and to spend time doing things that are personally and professionally fulfilling to me as well.
Yeah. Well, I can see why it is fulfilling. I mean, what you're wearing there, you designed and made, is just beautiful.
Thank you.
And I can see where that would be really rewarding. It just strikes me that, when you look at, you weren't in New Orleans 6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't imagine anyone that's moved to the city and created a business that so matches the culture and the vibe of New Orleans as you have. And I was curious, what is, when you think about all that, all the friends that you made here and all the customers that you have and all the excitement that you've created around your business, and it's just fun, right? It's fun. What does New Orleans mean to you at this point in your life?
I mean, New Orleans means everything to me. I would say that this is the first place that has felt like home since, I left my original home 18 years ago. I moved every 2 years for school or for work and never really found a place that felt like this is where I want to create roots. This is where I want to see the same people at the grocery store and go to the same gym and, make friends that are deeply, important and valuable. I also think that this is a city that really celebrates and encourages self-expression. And to me, fashion has always been a way of self-expression. I don't consider myself creative or artistic in a, traditional sense, but I think when it comes to how I express myself creatively, it's through fashion and being in a city that celebrates that. If you're, any other city that I've lived, you wear a full sequin caftan to the grocery store on a Wednesday and people are like, wow, what's wrong? What's going on there? Here people are like, where are you going? Can I come? I want to go. This seems like a fun time. Let's go. Like, you go on the bayou and someone is on a bike pulling a piano player behind them. Like, in no other city do you get to experience those little moments of magic. And I just hope with my clothes to sort of create those moments of magic for people as well. My business would not be where it is if it weren't in New Orleans. And not only because of the city, but because of the people. New Orleans people show up for local businesses. They show up for small businesses. Yeah. They support, they tell people. I mean, one of my good friends, Fluffy, I'm not going to say her age, sorry. Older woman, absolutely love her, has become a great friend of mine. Literally, I had to tell her, stop giving your stuff away. Like, she would be out at a party and would give it away. And I was like, you have to stop giving these things I'm making for you away. But I mean, that's what it is. Like, so many of my customers, no, you take this or you wear it, or, they want to share the joy that these pieces bring to them. And it's really cool to be in a city that really celebrates and encourages that.
Yeah, celebrates is a word that keeps coming back to me. I mean, I think New Orleans does celebrate well, but I think your product, your clothes are a celebration in themselves, and it seems like a perfect blend. I have so enjoyed doing the research on your business, and so enjoyed talking to you about it. Very excited for you for the future, because I mean, you got it going on. So congrats on everything you've done to date, and continued success in all you do. And thank you for having us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
I had so much fun with that episode. Kelsey had me wearing a sequin smoking jacket at the end there. So Kelsey is fascinating. She is a really great entrepreneur. She captures the spirit of New Orleans. She captures the spirit of Mardi Gras. Her products really resonate with a lot of people. She's got social media just mastered, and has really grown a great business. She seems to say all the right things and do the right things, not in business decision and making decisions about acquiring the manufacturing operations, but using local labor and ethical wages. So it was a real treat to talk with Kelsey. I appreciate the time that she gave to us. We appreciate you guys watching, and we'll catch you next time. We would like to thank our title sponsor, B1 Bank. They can be found online at b1bank.com. The Next Entrepreneur is produced by Propel Productions. You can find more information at propelyourstory.com. Don't forget to subscribe to the Next Entrepreneur podcast and hit the bell for notifications. You can also follow us on social media. The links are in the description below.